Hey there, and welcome to The Hidden Chest, where I talk about overlooked, underrated, or underappreciated games you might not have tried, and sometimes just really good indie games. Because they tend to get less exposure than AAA titles. I mean, these kinds of games often sell hundreds of thousands of units, but Star Wars Battlefront 2 sold over 7 million. So that means that there's a lot of people who need to hear about these kinds of games. I'm just the decrepit mongoloid for the job. To be honest, I had only vaguely heard of Enter the Gungeon until recently. I needed a Switch game for a road trip and picked it out on a whim. And oh boy, was that a good decision. I'd describe the game as a bullet hell dungeon crawler roguelike, with a format very similar to the indie classic The Binding of Isaac. You know the drill. Randomly generated dungeon, random items and weapons, permadeath, and of course, incredibly addictive gameplay. But I'm not here to discuss what the heck a roguelike is. I'm here to tell you why this game is special and absolutely worth your time. But first, a question. Enter the Gungeon has an unhealthy obsession with one particular thing. Is it A, melee weaponry, B, guns, or C, getting a healthy supply of vitamin A in your diet?
All right, who's the wise guy who voted for the carrot? You! Go swim 3 lengths of the pool.
Well, we can ponder that question after passing by these guards with bullet-shaped helmets and gun staves, as we enter the primer of a gigantic bullet covered in ancient etchings of guns, bullets, and crosshairs. After a loading screen involving a cute little bullet jumping into the chamber of a revolver, we get into the Gungeon. While you're in there, you better look out for the sentient bullets holding guns. They could take a chunk out of your health, which is also made of bullets. You know, maybe the carrot was the right answer. This game has a ton of guns in it, and they're all amazing. Like, where do I even begin? Well, how about I begin with a B-gun? This game has real guns, sci-fi guns, fantasy guns, guns that reference pop culture, guns that I don't even know what the heck. A lowercase r kinda looks like a gun if you squint hard enough. Bam! It's a gun. Bullet. Like shooting fish in a barrel. That's a saying related to guns, right? Bam! It's a gun. Screw it, let's get a bullet-shaped gun that shoots out gun-shaped bullets that in turn shoot out their own bullets. This game has over 200 guns, from the dinkiest Derringer to a friggin' black hole generator, and every one of them is ridiculously fun to use. Plus, the gameplay around those guns is just as action-packed and fun. You can dodge roll to avoid bullets, flip tables to act as a shield, push an explosive barrel into a group of enemies and then blow them all sky high. You can use blanks, which cause a massive shockwave that clears the room of projectiles and pushes back enemies. And there are active and passive items that range from airstrikes to incendiary rounds. Good God, this game is fun. And a lot more dynamic than, say, The Binding of Isaac. No offense to The Binding of Isaac, I still love you. Now, this game may be incredibly difficult, but you slowly and surely make progress over time as you learn the patterns of enemies and improve at the game. Sure, when you die, you need to start fresh, but killing bosses nets you these sweet perma-credits that can be used to buy items in the hub. Oh yeah, the hub. This may just be me, but I love it in games when you have a hub that you slowly build up over time. And Enter the Gungeon has that. So that's good. You can rescue people locked in cells in the Gungeon. Often they'll set up shop in the hub, where they can sell you stuff and offer unique and crazy challenges and side quests. I'd show what the hub looks like all decked out, but I'd rather you experience that for yourself. Other than that, there are fantastic, extremely well-designed bosses, which are great, multiple characters with unique playstyles, which are great. There's an ammo-nomicon that keeps track of every item and enemy you've ever encountered and has a neat description for each, which is great. And local co-op, which is, I reiterate, really great. The game runs basically perfect, with the exception of minimal lag during certain boss fights and/or using crazy guns during said boss fights. But if you want to remove the basically and with the exception of from my previous sentence, you can change the graphics level of the game no matter what platform you're playing on. Though I always use the high-tier beautiful option, and the game plays pretty much perfectly, even when my Switch is undocked. Honestly, I only really have one problem with this game, and it's a problem that it shares with The Binding of Isaac. albeit a lot less so. And that's that the game doesn't explain everything necessarily well. Now, Enter the Gungeon does have a great tutorial that teaches you all the basics you'll need, but when it comes to the not-so-basic stuff, there is absolutely no in-game explanation of it. Let's just say thank God for the Enter the Gungeon wiki. Well, whatever, to help any of you potential Gungeoneers out there, here are some spoiler-free beginner's tips and tricks for the Gungeon. Tip number 1, if you're playing the game and this happens, that means you've been cursed for whatever reason. This can happen for using demonic items or, God forbid, using a melee weapon like a filthy degenerate. The more curses you get, the rougher your run will be. Items drop less, superpowered versions of normal enemies can show up, and chests can explode, or be mimics. You do get more money the more cursed you are though, so that's nice. Tip number 2, the quality of loot you'll get from a treasure chest depends on the chest's color. Brown is the worst, and then it goes blue, green, red, and black, which is the best. Keys are limited, so keep that in mind when opening one of these. My favorite is the red and gold chest. Something about it just speaks to me. Tip number 3, hold down on the D-pad to drop your gun. Hold up on the D-pad to drop your active item. Check the map screen and you can drop passive items you've picked up. It's great if you want to sell stuff to the creepy sewer gremlin. Tip number 4, if you catch on fire, stop, drop, and roll. Except don't stop and don't drop, just roll. Just roll like your life depends on it because it does. On top of all that, other, more complicated things not explained in-game are how most of the shrines work, the fact that certain items can be used to steal from shopkeepers, coolness, weapon synergy, and the convoluted way you unlock the 2 secret characters. Though those 2 secret characters are incredibly cool. In short, like most roguelikes, the internet is your friend here. But if you don't mind a bit of wikiing, I'd honestly say that this game is pretty much flawless as far as I can tell. I'm practically addicted to it, and I'm still discovering new stuff on every run. It's kinda amazing just how much is crammed into here. And there's a free expansion coming out early this year called Advanced Gungeons and Dragons, which will pile on even more features, guns, game modes, just a bunch of stuff. With all that in mind, you'd have to be crazy not to give this game a shot.